Well, good afternoon and welcome back to Thursday Thoughts. This is our fifth episode now, and I have to say I have really enjoyed making these videos, so thank you so much for tuning in. If you've been following these videos, just to introduce myself, if this is your first time watching, my name is Simon Argent. I'm one of the leaders here at Ascot Life Church, and essentially we wanted to make these videos throughout this lockdown just because we're aware that during this time many of us may be asking big questions about life, questions about God, questions about the universe, who we are, what we're made for. And so we just wanted to take a bit of time each Thursday at 12 p.m. to look at one of those big questions. And the big question that we're going to be looking at today, as you can see from the title above me, is this: if God exists, why doesn't he make himself clearer? If God is really there, why isn't there maybe more evidence for him? Why doesn't he show himself in a clear way? I wonder if you've ever been speaking with someone about God, or maybe even said yourself, if only God were to reveal himself to me, if only he would appear to me, then I'd believe in him. That would be all it would take for me to believe in God, just for him to show himself clearly to me. I mean, the fact is that as humans, we want 100% proof for God, don't we? We want to know with certainty, with 100% certainty, that he exists. But of course, there's no lab experiment we can do to prove that God exists, nor is there any kind of watertight argument that I can give you to prove 100% without a doubt that God exists. And so because there's no such 100% proof, we assume therefore that, well, then he doesn't exist. Because if he were to exist, then there would be such proof. But I think actually that's probably a rather hasty and false conclusion to make. Because just think about this for a moment. Most of the things you believe, you do not have 100% proof of. In fact, I'd say that the most important things that you believe, you can't prove without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, just think about things that we believe about the past. Take World War I, for example. Most of us, I'd say probably all of us watching, believe that World War I happened. It was a world event that happened from 1914 to 1918. We believe that World War I is an event that happened. But have you noticed that you don't have 100% certainty of that? There is no lab experiment you can do to prove without a shadow of a doubt that that's true. I mean, you may say that there's so much evidence though, but the truth is all of that evidence could be described in other ways. You could say, well, there's trenches in Europe, surely that proves World War I. Well, but you could prove that another way. You weren't there when they were dug. They could have been dug, hundreds of years ago by Frenchmen who just wanted to dig some trenches. You might say, but there's so many documents, so many letters and pictures. Well, documents have been forged before. You may say, but there's so many people who claim to be eyewitnesses of those events, who've spoken about it. But people have lied before. Maybe World War I is just some kind of big conspiracy theory invented by people to con us into thinking that was what happened. You don't have 100% certainty, even though you have evidence that World War I really happened. Now, of course, I'm being a bit facetious. I'm being a bit ridiculous here. No one really believes that World War I was a conspiracy theory. But I'm being ridiculous to kind of prove my point. Just because we don't have 100% certainty of some things doesn't mean we immediately doubt them. No. We believe that World War I happened, not because there's a lab test we can do, but because there is evidence, and the most reasonable conclusion from that evidence is that it happened. Everything we know about the past, we can't know with 100% certainty because it's outside of the present. But we can still have relative certainty because we have evidence pointing towards it. And so, in the same way, it shouldn't surprise us that when it comes to something like the existence of God, we wouldn't have a kind of lab test we can do, because God isn't just outside of the present. No, if God exists, he's outside of time and space. So of course there's no experiment we can do to test if he's there. But nonetheless, like World War I, whilst we can't do a lab experiment or have a watertight argument for God's existence, I think there are certain clues which point towards God's existence. We might not be able to have 100% laboratory certainty, but nonetheless there are clues which, if we follow them, do point us towards his existence. And of course there's many I could give, but just to keep this video short, I just want to give 3, and actually you'll be pleased to know they all begin with C. If you've been watching these videos for a long enough time, you'll know that if there's anything I love more than a 3-point argument, it's for all those points to start with the same letter. That is just glory for me. And so I've got 3 clues for God, each one starting with C. The first one is the clue of creation. We know, don't we, that we live in a world of incredible beauty. I mean, this is something that's been highlighted to me throughout this lockdown, really. This is one good thing that's come out of it for all of us, is that we have seen the beauty of our world more. Maybe you've enjoyed kind of listening to the birds singing in the morning, which we can't usually hear when there's traffic. Or maybe you've enjoyed walks in a beautiful meadow near your house. Or maybe watching the sunset each evening. Our world is one of incredible beauty. But not only that, our world is also one of incredible order. There is order and rhythm to our world. The sun comes up and goes down at the same time each day. The seasons come and go every year. There is incredible order and structure to our creation. And not only that, but even on a kind of macro level, there is incredible order to our universe. Scientists have told us that there are certain fine-tunings to our universe which make our universe particularly suited to inhabit life. There's an astronomer by the name of Martin Rees, who recently wrote a book called Just 6 Numbers. And Martin Rees is not a Christian, but he says that there are 6 cosmological constants which mean that our universe is kind of perfectly made. If any one of these constants was out of balance, then there would be no universe. We live, it seems, in a kind of Goldilocks, just right universe. And so that the beauty and incredible order of the world we live in seems to suggest that there is a creator, that there's a designer behind it all. Now, of course, that isn't the only conclusion that we could make. We could say that there's beauty and order maybe just because of pure chance. It just so happened to be that way, and don't, try and invent any other theory. Could be just because of pure chance. Another theory is that our universe is beautiful and ordered because, there's millions of universes, all of which failed to exist, but ours is the one that perfectly got there. This is called the multiverse theory, that the reason we see incredible order in our world is because, we're just one lucky universe out of thousands that has managed to sustain itself. So we could explain the beauty and order in our creation through chance, through multiverse theory, but I don't know about you, but I think these 2 theories take just as much faith and belief as believing in our third theory, that the reason our world is beautiful and ordered is because there was a designer who made it. I'm not saying that creation is 100% proof that God exists, but I'm saying it's not an unreasonable assumption to draw from creation that there is a God who made it. Douglas Adams, famously began his Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by saying, "Isn't it enough to enjoy the beauty of the garden rather than inventing fairies at the end of it?" But Christians have responded to that through the decades by saying, well, when we look at the garden of creation, it doesn't mean that there's necessarily fairies, but it would suggest to us that there's a gardener, that there's a creator who made it. So that's our first clue, creation. The second clue, I think, which points us towards God's existence is our consciences. I've said this before in previous videos when we looked at I'm good, why do I need God? But just to recap briefly, the fact that we believe in things like good and evil, right and wrong, seems to suggest that we were made by a higher being, made by a moral being. Because conscience doesn't really make sense if we're here simply by the blind forces of evolution, by the forces of chance. Because the theory of evolution tells us that we have evolved essentially just to survive. That is what the whole of life is about. It's about survival of the fittest. Those who are the best are the ones that survive. And so as humans, we just evolved to survive. But our conscience kind of doesn't really work with that theory sometimes. Because our consciences sometimes tell us things which don't help our survival. Our conscience tells us that it's always wrong to lie, always wrong to steal, always wrong to cheat, always wrong to murder, even if doing one of these things would benefit us, even if it would help us or our family, our tribe, to survive. Our conscience tells us these things are always wrong, even if it would help our survival. Now, it is true that other scientists have explained our conscience in different ways. They've said actually our conscience does help us to survive as a species. Our conscience is something that's evolved just to help us as humans not destroy one another. But for me, this doesn't really chime. Because I think when we look inside of ourselves, we know that it's wrong to murder. Not because deep down we know that it will help our species. We don't think it's wrong to murder because it will help our species. No, we feel it's wrong to murder just because it is wrong. It's almost something we can't explain. We feel that it's wrong to lie, cheat and steal, not because of the, species benefits, but because those things just aren't right. It's almost like they contradict a universal moral law that we all share. And so I think this is another clue to God's existence, is the fact that we have consciences. Again, hear me, I'm not saying that our consciences are 100% evidence that God exists, but I am saying it's not an unreasonable deduction from our consciences to see that we are made by a moral being. So that's our second clue. We've seen creation is a clue, our consciences are a clue, and the third clue I want us to look at is Christ. This is the third, I guess, most greatest clue God has given us of his existence. And I guess even to call Jesus a clue to God's existence, is a bit not quite right. It's a bit like calling this wedding ring a clue to the fact that I'm married. That is the biggest understatement ever. This ring is not a clue to you that I'm married. It is the indication that I'm married. It is the symbol, the surefire way to know that I have a wife. And in the same way that the Bible tells us that ultimately God has revealed himself to us, not just by leaving clues in his creation and within us, but he's ultimately revealed himself to us by working himself into creation, by walking in it himself. He's like the playwright who has written himself in to his own play to reveal himself to the characters that he's made. And to be honest, I think Jesus Christ is someone who is very hard to explain if there is no God. Jesus is very hard to explain other than by saying that he is come from God. He is God with us. I mean, firstly, because Jesus seemed to predict his own resurrection and follow through with it. No other human being has ever done that. Predict that they would come back from the dead and then rise from the dead. And as we saw in our second episode of Thursday Thoughts, we saw that there's actually good evidence for believing the resurrection. And you'd be welcome to kind of scroll back and find that video. But even putting the resurrection aside, I think Jesus is still unexplainable unless he comes from outside of this world. Because just think about who he is. He's a peasant from Judea, which is like a backwater province of the Roman Empire. As far as we know, he never wrote anything. His first followers were just like a motley crew of fishermen and other, kind of social outcasts in his society. And yet, even despite all of that, he has become someone who is worshipped by a third of the world's population. The book that talks about him is the best-selling book ever. I mean, we even organise our dating system around him, before Christ, Anno Domini, after the year of our Lord. Jesus is a huge bomb that has dropped into history, that has dropped ripples all over it. He is hard to explain unless he's come from God, unless he is God joining our world, come to reveal himself to us. And so I think God has left actually huge clues, more than clues of his existence. I think God has revealed himself to us hugely, firstly in creation and conscience, but most ultimately through coming and joining our world. I mean, we can say, I believe in God if there was more evidence, but as we've seen, I think God has left us evidence. I mean, maybe the reason we struggle to believe in God is not because there's not enough evidence, but it's because deep down we don't really want to believe in God. I mean, you may still be saying, if only God appeared to me, then I'd believe in him. If only I saw him with my flesh and blood, then I would believe in him. But I have to ask you, how do you know that? How do you know that would be enough for you? Jesus appeared to many people when he walked on earth. Do you know how many people believed in him? Not many. He had 12 followers only for a long time. Even after that, it was only in the hundreds. People saw God on earth and did not believe in him. And the reason the Bible gives us for this is because they didn't want to. They didn't want to give him room in their lives. They ultimately didn't believe in Jesus, not because they couldn't see him, but because they wanted to cover their eyes from him. They didn't want to accept what he might do to their lives. And ultimately, I think maybe this is the reason that we never have enough evidence for God. Not because there's not enough evidence, but because we don't really want him in our lives. We're worried about what he might do. We're worried about what it might mean if there is a God. But, I have to tell you, there's nothing to worry about. I'd say God's existence for you is not something dangerous. It's not something you need to worry about. It's the best thing that could happen. It tells you that there is a God who created you and loved you, who has a plan for your life, who wants to welcome you into his family. It tells you that there is a God who is in control of this earth, that even when crisis hits, that he is working out good purposes through it all. And I'd invite you, if you want to find out more about this God who seems maybe to exist through creation, conscience, and Christ, and I invite you to come and join us on a Sunday. We don't meet physically on Sundays at the moment, but we do meet online in live streams at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. You can find that on our Facebook and our YouTube channel, and you'd be more than welcome to come in, just kind of sit at the back anonymously and learn more about Jesus. we'd love you to do that. Or if you'd like to speak to someone, you can email care@Ascot Life Church and one of us will get in contact with you. Love to hear from you. But I think that's enough from me on this question. I do hope that that's been helpful and looking forward to seeing you on another Thursday Thoughts soon. Thank you.